most known lawyer in Canadian firm. This is the only thing I'm willing to tell you. The rest, let's hear it from him. Andrew, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for coming. And it's okay if I call you Andrew, right?
Absolutely.
Andrew, and call me Helen. We're good.
That's perfectly fine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Andrew, tell me, who's Andrew Ruder? What's your background? Where did you come from? Tell us about your background, your families, your growing up, everything, please.
Yeah, so my parents originally immigrated to Canada from Barbados. And they came along with my grandmother as well.
Okay.
So we initially set up shop in Willowdale in North York.
What kind of shop?
No, we resided.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, initially in Willowdale, North York. And then eventually my parents moved to York Region, which is literally across the street from over Steeles. And we grew up there in Thornhill. And my parents came to Canada with that strong immigration mindset, right? Hard work.
Yes.
They really emphasized, me getting a good education. So they really instilled a very solid work ethic in me from early on. They always told me as an individual of color, a visible minority, especially growing up in Canada, you have to work 3 times harder,
Yes.
right? To get the same results, get the same opportunities. So I carried that with me throughout my school, my academic career. And then I applied that to a lot of the sports activities I was engaged in early on.
What kind of sports?
So I was really into jiu-jitsu and judo.
Okay.
I was a 3-time Ontario judo champion. I was a national jiu-jitsu champion. I was actually at one point on the verge of getting into mixed martial arts. I used to train with Carlos Newton, who was the first UFC champion before George St. Pierre. And I was very serious about doing that. But then, my parents kind of stepped in, and they kind of emphasized, well, no, you might get injured, something might happen. So again, they stressed the importance of me getting a good education. I majored in philosophy at York University.
Okay.
I did that for 5 years, and of course, when you have a degree in philosophy, when you graduate, there's not an obvious choice of the direction that you're going to go in. You have to be very creative in how you apply it. And I took the LSAT, and my score was good enough to get into law school.
Did your parents influence you to become a lawyer? Because like most parents, especially immigrants, they want their kids to be a doctor, a lawyer. So within the time your parents like, Andrew, you have to be a lawyer or a doctor. Did that happen to you?
Well, that is true. They didn't pressure me to become a lawyer, but of course, where they're from in terms of what they deem to be, successful career, they always point to the obvious choices: doctor, lawyer, engineer, things like that, more obvious choice. But they didn't put any pressure for me to be a lawyer specifically. I always tell this story. People ask me what got me interested in law at the outset. And when I was younger, my grandmother used to watch a show called Matlock. I'm not sure if any of your viewers are familiar with.
I watched that one.
You did. It's a young, like a criminal law lawyer.
Yes. That's my favorite show.
Small
growing
town.
up. Yes.
It was actually one of my favorite shows when I was younger as well, and I was so impressed with how he was a small-time guy from a small town, country boy type persona, and he went above and beyond to get the results for his clients. And he usually had very limited resources, and he really thought outside the box, very creative. And I loved his rhetoric inside the courtroom.
Yes.
The way he just persuaded the jury, and they were just hanging on his every word. And he would go to the scene of the crime and do his own investigation, get the extra, edge he needed to be successful at trial. So I was always impressed with him, how he fought for the little guy.
Yes.
And for me, that's really important for me. Representing the little guy, I like the underdog rather. I'm a big fan of David going up against Goliath. So that was kind of that initial foray into the legal world, of seeing what it was all about and the power that a small town lawyer can have and the impact it can have in his community and the people within it.
Awesome. Okay, let's talk about your company. How did you start it? When did you start it? What were the ups and downs of creating a company? I'm sure it's not going to be that easy to do. So tell us what's the ups and downs and everything, please.
Yeah, so I started my law firm during the global pandemic about 1.5 years ago, almost 2 years ago. And it's that realization where it's never the perfect time to do anything in life, You understand?
Yes.
Once you have that gut feeling, that intuitive feel to pursue something that you're passionate about, your dream, your goals, you got to do it, right? Even if the stars aren't perfectly aligned in the sky, right? So for me, it just got to a point where I had a firm understanding. I was doing law long enough. Started out in Toronto, worked at bigger law firms. I was doing it long enough that I got a good sense of the kind of firm I wanted to build. I wanted one that was more inclusive, more culturally diverse. I wanted to take on pro bono projects and pursue social justice issues. I had my own idea of the culture I wanted to develop in my law firm. And I had that feeling I just wanted to go ahead and do it. Happened to coincide with the time when we were in a global pandemic. And I said, forget it. Let me just go ahead and do it. Some of the challenges, when you're working for a bigger law firm, you're just a lawyer wearing one hat. That's your primary focus. The moment you start on, pursuing a business on your own, you wear multiple hats. I got to worry about financing. I got to worry about advertising and marketing. I got to worry about how do I get clients. A lot of these things they don't teach you how to do in law school, and you have to figure out how to do that on your own. So a lot of it was a big learning curve for me, and juggling multiple balls at the same time to kind of figure out how I'm going to get my law firm started, how I'm going to get it off the ground, how am I going to continue to get an inflow of clients coming in. So there were a lot of challenges, but for me, so much more fulfilling. So much more fulfilling when you're pursuing your own dream, doing things on your terms. You have the freedom to build the company that you want, that corresponds with your own values, attitudes, and beliefs. It's so much more rewarding.
What kind of service do you provide? What kind of lawyer are you? What field?
So I do civil litigation and tort law broadly, but specifically...
Yeah, for people who don't understand that, like me, explain that.
So civil litigation and tort law is just a fancy word for civil law. People who committed like a wrong against you, who were negligent in their behavior. Within tort law, I really focus on personal injury law. That makes up a chunk of my practice. And the niche area I focus on within personal injury law is what's called catastrophic impairment law. So I basically represent clients who are victims of motor vehicle accidents and who sustain catastrophic impairments. So that's like the more severe injuries and impairments, like severe traumatic brain injuries, fractures in your spines, tetraplegia, loss of vision, loss of the mobility of an arm, things like that that significantly reduce their ability to function in their day-to-day lives, and particularly at work.
Okay. I have more questions for you. Let's take a break and come back.